Well, thank you for letting me interview for the Friends of Zeus podcast. I'm Zeus, and everybody else that you'll see are my friends. Your name?
Kimberly.
And you're a nurse from, where are you from?
South Carolina.
What kind of nursing do you do?
I'm an ICU, trauma neuro.
Damn, good on you. So you know a lot about the RaDonda Vaught case, because
been keeping up with it. Yeah.
But we'll get to that. But I wanted to ask, what inspired you to come out here today? Because there's a lot of nurses out here today. I'm pretty impressed with it. It's not a million, but
yeah,
it's more than 6 or 7. So
I feel like that nurses were called heroes in 2020, and now in 2022, less than 2 years later, we're being thrown under the bus for hospitals that are making millions.
What's your name, ma'am?
My name is DeAnna.
DeAnna. So where are you from? I know you told me.
Richmond.
All right. And you said you were an ER nurse?
Yes.
So I guess one question we're asking everybody is, what brought you here? What inspired you to drive all the way from Richmond just to come up here?
The healthcare system is broken, and we're here to bring awareness. We don't want to cap pay.
Right.
Ratios, patient safety ratios. We're trying to take in, more than we can actually handle. It's not safe.
I'm Dani.
I'm Charlotte.
I'm Venus.
Okay. Oh, Venus. See some Venus.
Yeah.
I like that. Cool. And where are you from?
Originally California.
Okay.
Texas.
Florida.
Oh, what part of Florida?
Panama City Beach.
All right. I was Tampa and Sarasota. That's where I live. So what inspired you ladies to come out here today? What was it, the driving force for traveling from all these various places?
Well, we're actually travel nursing here.
Oh, okay.
In the area of D.C. So I think it was kind of, it was convenient because it was right here.
Yeah.
Right after work, we just came right on by. And we figured it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to kind of fight for something that we believe in. Yeah. That
Good.
is also happens to be where we're currently living. We'd be ashamed to kind of let that opportunity go away.
Yeah. So I didn't plan this question, but so that's the inspiration for coming out of here. But what got you to the point where you felt like there was something to fight for? What is it that you're what's bunching your britches per se?
I guess everything that's bunching our britches right now. Unsafe staffing, they're trying to cap nurses' pay, everything that's going on. We don't have enough resources in the hospital. We don't have support from administration. Everywhere we even have to travel to even get adequate pay. Right now, we have to leave the comfort of our homes, so.
Can I ask your name?
My name is Holly.
Holly. Again, Zeus. Where are you here from?
Texas.
Wow. Wow. So what inspired you to come out here?
It just stirred my heart.
Yeah, I'm getting that from a lot of people. Was there any issue in particular that kind of...
I think, the RaDonda Vaught case really pushed it home
for this.
When I started nursing, I kind of thought that our hospital system, we had these problems, but we live in a small town area, and this is just how it was going to be at our hospital. And if I, wasn't willing to travel, then I was going to have to get used to that. But then through social media and stuff, I found that it's more like a nationwide issue. More than I had ever thought, that every nurse is complaining about the same things as we were.
Yeah, it's generally pay, safety, staffing,
Right. So,
ratios.
When I heard that we could all come together, I just felt like I had to be a part of that change. I couldn't miss this opportunity. If this was going to do something, then I had to be able to say in the future that I was here and I was a part of it.
I do. Hello. Welcome to the Friends of Zeus podcast. Tonight, we are going to be talking about the thousands nurse march. It was supposed to be millions. It was still a lot of people. I went into DC with Michael from the show, if you watched it before, and went and interviewed some nurses, and it was enlightening. I mean, I was there mainly to get information about the upcoming RaDonda Vaught verdict, or not verdict, but sentencing, because it's very important to nurses. It's going to have a devastating effect, whatever happens, on the entire aesthetic of nursing. So I went out there, but they started talking about a lot of stuff that I hadn't considered, because I got the job. It pays pretty good, and I'm relatively happy with pay and all that. I could use more. I'm not gonna complain, and I certainly think I feel like more money would be appropriate. But there was a lot of talk about safety, staffing issues, nurse to patient ratio. So it was a pretty neat experience, and I got like 5 or 6 interviews that I think we'll probably we'll just leave it for people to view at the end. But it was really neat, and all the nurses I met were really cool, and I met all kinds of nurses: ICU, labor and delivery, nephrology, I think, like just across the board. Very, very interesting, really smart women. I only met 1 male nurse, but that's pretty much the ratio. So, but it was really cool, and I just kind of wanted to talk about that. Oh, and our friend Desiree is here.
I'm here.
So she is gonna hop on with us too. She was actually in the march. Desiree, this is Chelsea, by the way.
Hi, Chelsea. How are you? I'm good. How are you? I'm doing all right.
Do you guys all have your video off, or is it just my completely shitty?
Yeah, no. Are you watching? On. Yeah, we're all on.
I see everybody.
I can see everyone, but I can't see. And I can see you, Zeus, but not.
There's my hand.
Yeah.
I can see all 3 of you.
There you go.
It was Syndey size. It's my bad side.
Jesus Christ. Okay, Desiree will be Zeus.
Okay.
You may.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, Zeus, you may want to turn off your background.
I think you may be right.
That's what's kind of causing problems.
She keeps showing up, and then.
Let's see if that helps.
I would turn off my background, but then everyone would realize that I'm living in a tent out in the middle of the interstate, and I'm not ready to confront that yet.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, Desiree.
Hey, how are you guys?
Pretty good.
Cool. So I was just talking about, where I was.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see as many people, but you saw the thousand nurse march.
Yeah, so it started on the White House lawn, and then we marched to the Capitol. We marched to the Capitol, and then is that where they went? Yeah, so they marched to the Capitol, and they stayed there for a while, and then they marched on to Audi Field. I don't know what that is.
Audi Stadium. The stadium where the DC United plays. Soccer team.
Yeah, they marched there, and I guess there was speeches and stuff. We didn't go to that because we didn't fly to DC to sit in the stadium. So
3 miles away too. Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed farther than we wanted to walk at the time. So but it was really good. There was a lot of people there. There was a lot of signs. There was, of course, your people that have the random, not even anything to do with the protest signs, but which was entertaining. So,
that's DC.
But,
yeah.
You're just random person on a street corner holding a sign.
Yeah, but again, so I don't know, were we recording when I talked about some of the issues that were brought to me, or is that something I should kind of go over?
No, I mean, now that we've started, I would go back into that.
So again, I was saying, I went there mainly, again, I'm big on this RaDonda Vaught. At work, it's all I talk about with the other nurses. But there was a lot. I mean, this was the Million Nurse March, so this wasn't, about RaDonda Vaught, but she's definitely
there were a lot of signs about I stand with Rhonda and all that kind of stuff at the march too. So
yeah, honestly, most of the people that I went up to interview, they had the purple "I stand with RaDonda" shirts on, so it's they're nurses, So that's I gravitate towards them. But I mean, so the really cool thing about this was it was talking about a lot of things that I hadn't considered before. And for me, it's a little speaking for myself as in being older, becoming a nurse, I kind of knew what I wanted to do. Yeah, I knew I was going to get paid well, but I didn't do it so much for that as I wanted to do psych because I had already had a degree in psych, and I didn't want to do another 12 years of school. So I split the difference, and I think I'd made a good choice. But so I'm happier with things. My pay is like almost doubled from before I was a nurse, which is fantastic. I may have to put in a lot of overtime, but still I have the access to more money. And I get to do something that I really, really enjoy. Our friend over here on the side, she'll tell you, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. As far as nursing, I'm empathetic. I don't blame people for their mistakes that they make when they're in the state that they're in. I reserve the right to think they're an asshole now, but I welcome them with open arms when they get better. So anyway, my point that I was getting at is that they talk about a lot of things that I hadn't considered, like staffing. Like I take 6 patients on a pretty much daily basis on my shifts, and just I know Jack's gonna bust my chops for saying I'm a psych nurse, but being a psych nurse, if you've got 6 patients, it's different than med surg where you've got 6 patients. Med surg is like your regular medical floor, where you might go if you had like a bad hip or a swollen knee, something like that. You like that, Mike?
Yeah. Very nice.
But it's different because a lot of that, there's more stability in it. But for me, I always use the reference, it's like herding cats. So when you have 6 patients on a behavioral health floor, you got no clue what might be going on. Like you start to pick, like I work acute, that's like, I'm beast at that. Like I deal with the people that are seeing stuff that's not there. But then there's, but then there's like mood, which is more of your like eating disorders, depression, more sedate. Their issues are more about being introverted and not giving you the information you need to help them. Mine, it's in your face. So the staffing is huge. And in that also is the ratio. Like mainly now, I think you'd agree, and you as well, person with no name over to the side, that nowadays they offer you a bonus. Like when I go in for an extra shift, it's usually tacked onto that is like another $600. So I'm making time and a half plus $600, and my, it's good money. It's like, you can't argue it, but that shouldn't be how it is. It should just be better pay. My feeling is the job should be well paying enough that you're not looking for that extra way to make the money. You're just doing it because you got something to lose. Right now, there's travel nurse jobs where people go out and they work for, 13 weeks and they make like $4,000 a week, $5,000. And that's just psych. Med surg, other ones during COVID, man, they were making
in New York City, it was like $10,000
like
a
week. Yeah, like
I
ridiculous
wonder
money.
what the taxes were on that.
It's the way they do it is they pay your pay for your wages is actually less than the going rate in the state, but it's your tax-free stipend that's like the bigger portion. So it's not a lot of taxes.
What they do is they mask it with your accommodations, right? Like so they give you like cost of living, and the cost of living is like $80 an hour. So you make all this money that you can say that's basically tax-free. So you walk away with bank. And if you like go with a friend and do this,
and you split costs.
Or
if you do it like 50 miles outside of your hometown, you just drive.
Yeah. It's like serious pay.
They list it as per diem.
Yes, exactly.
If you list it as per diem, then guess what? It can't be taxed because it's included in the cost because you're contracted. It's like 1099 someone, you're contracted.
So So, well, just real quick. So today down in DC, other than the situation with RaDonda, which we can get into, what were the, as a layperson, what were the gripes? Like I saw some of the signs and.
Well,
So-
those were two of them.
The two main like bills, I don't actually know which bills they are. The issues were safe staffing ratios, and then there's a bill floating around out there about safe or violence against healthcare workers.
Yeah, that was the third one,
Because,
and then capping pay.
Yeah, capping pay is the big one, but there's not really like a bill for it, but pay us more, we need it, thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of thing.
Is there a national union for nurses?
No, unions are. I mean, there's a few.
They're state run. Unions are state run.
Yeah. So Kaiser Permanente, for instance, I used to work there, and I was a union as a call center guy, but the nurses there were unions. And it's weird because the way unions work is they like attach you to like the supermarket union in
like
the area.
teachers union,
Like-
the actors guild union.
Yeah, it's very bizarre, but so that's the only union I know of in Virginia. And man, those nurses, they make bank and they're protected. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that are against unions, but at least in nursing, I really like it because you need protection, and those unions, they will protect you.
Florida has
Yeah,
unions.
I work at a hospital that's unionized, and I don't find them to be very protective. Just saying. Really. I just
Same in Florida. Same in Florida. They fight for you, but they don't fight that hard. They're not allowed on.
That's what I'm getting a sense of.
If you take any kind of upper management or any kind of charged position, you're not allowed to be in the union.
Right.
Like they make it very hard.
Which I mean, like, how does that set? Like, for example, I'm not like a charge. I like relief charge. So I fill in when there's not anyone needed. I don't have specific like days, but how does that work for somebody? There are positions like that, you know. I don't know, maybe at other hospitals, like there's a specific charge on a specific day and no one can ever take vacation. But I mean, I just wonder how that would affect.
Yeah, we have relief charges, and the problem that we're facing here, at least at my hospital in the ERs, is the hospital decided they were not going to renew any more of the contracts.
Yeah.
So now we're so short staffed, they're stealing from other campuses just to cover shifts, and at the freestanding, they're leaving 2 nurses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so the safety issue for you, those of you that don't understand, the thing about that is like if you get like hit, or I've been hit a couple times, like once or twice. I've got a pretty good ratio for not getting hit most of the time. But if you get hit, it's all workman's comp. They're not going out of their way. This is non-union. I think union would probably protect better. But if for me, I had to go to the hospital. I had a patient like swing at me, and I blocked him, and it did a little bit of nerve damage to my hand. And yeah, they were just like, you have to fill this out. You have to do this. You have to do that. It's not, you know, resting your head on the bosom of your mother as she protects you and gets you through this. We can either just pretend it never happened, or you can jump through all these hoops to make sure you're not paid. And a lot of times
they're just it's more hassle than it is worth it half the time.
Right. So you start to judge, did this really hurt me that much or not? So again, to recap, the issues were the capping pay, I think, was definitely, I heard it a lot at least.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
staffing, safety ratios.
But to tie the staffing and safety ratios back into the union conversation, the thing about unions is your union can't protect you for what's there if there's not a law in the books. So for example, in California, they have a union or whatever, but they also have it's legislation that their patient ratios are 2 in the ICU, 4 on the floor. So when it comes an issue to, you know, say, oh, all of a sudden these nurses on the floor are having 5, 6 patients, the union could come in and then like protect you against those laws. If there's no laws against that.
Most states don't have laws. That's why California.
What are they going to do for you? What's the union going to do for you in that situation? Not a shit.
Yeah, see, I've been in a union once, and that's when I was a telemarketer for Kaiser not telemarketer, but like a call center guy. And somebody got into a fight on the floor, and I didn't know anything about unions, right? So I was like, nah, this is how I saw it. And it didn't support their view of how they wanted it to be presented. Which was interesting because I met like from a union standpoint, I'd say we say that Jimmy Hoffa, like he protected his unions and all that. I mean, he was obviously a criminal, but there were parts about him that were kind of cool. And I had the Jimmy Hoffa of the call center representative arena. Because I was like, yeah, I can't. She's like, this is how you should say it. I'm like, yeah, but that's not what I saw. That's not how it happened. And sure enough, she backed me up many times after that. She was like a good egg. Like I made her job miserable because I wouldn't change my story. But she was like, she backed up the integrity part of it. So I'm all unions. That's not really what we're talking about. Yeah, so a lot of the people, like one of the questions, so I went through this series of about 5 or 6 questions, and we're going to have videos at the end of this that people can watch later. And it was, common, what's your name, where are you from? And then it got a little more interesting. I say, what inspired you to come out today? Followed by, could they give me a specific incident that maybe caused that inspiration? And they were very forthcoming. And then we got into the RaDonda Vaught story, and it was very interesting because when we talked about this before, I think you were there, and Dana was there, and so was Mary, and you were there, and you were there,
you were there, you were there.
The Wizard of Oz thing. But a lot of them, minus one nurse, and she was actually really cool and kind of maybe even changed her tune a little bit, but she actually, every nurse I talked to said shouldn't get her license back, but shouldn't go to jail, which is, I thought that was kind of neat. Maybe it's how we think as nurses, or it's just so in your face the right way to do it. But she was actually like, nah, let her fry. And I'm like, whoa, tone it back a little. Maybe not quite that bad, but she like slowly raised her hand, and then she got bold and raised it all the way up. She was like, she thought RaDonda should go to jail. And we had a discussion around that. Then I asked them what they thought, how they thought this was going to turn out, because we like our predictions on this show. And I think most people also thought this is not going to bode well for her. But my thinking, and tell me if you guys agree, I think everybody here's a little in tune with what's going on. I think what's going to happen is they are going to give her some time, and then it's going to get appealed. And what I'd like to think will happen is that appeal is when the real attention to her case really comes out, because it's just it's too much of a stink. They can't.
I don't know, Zeus. I mean, given the age that we're living in right now, with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and you had RaDonda's case on TV as well, I think that's the maximum saturated attention that she's going to get. I think that if she gets sentenced to any time, sure, they'll appeal it. But whatever happens to her after that, I don't think is going to draw national attention at all. I think D-Day is the sentencing, and with everything else going on in the country, I think other than nurses who have a vested interest, I don't know if that many people in the country are really aware of. I mean, like whatever happened with Ghislaine Maxwell. Like, I know she got convicted, but if somebody asked me what her sentence was, I haven't a clue. I don't even know I don't know if she was sentenced yet at all. You know what I mean? I think the ramifications for what you're talking about, they're obviously very important to the nursing industry. Like, I think nurses should give a shit. I just don't know. I don't know if the rest of America will.
I mean, I agree with you, but I think that this is going to change, like, it's going to change the nursing medical world for sure.
Yeah.
Nurses are going to start getting malpractice insurance. We're going to be taking extra steps.
I was gonna ask you, are nurses offered like liability or any sorts of insurance on this stuff?
Yeah, I have
presently?
my own insurance. Every nurse should have their own.
Yeah, but you
they-
never.
I wouldn't say it's
They
offered.
recommend that you get your own because the hospital's not going to back you or the
You
facility
have
is
to
not.
have your own.
And you can't tell the hospital that you have it, or else they'll wipe their hands clean of it. You got to have it and just let them
Keep
see
it
if
in your
they
back
do
pocket.
anything.
Pull that out of your
Yeah.
pocket when you need it.
Yeah, my mom
didn't-
taught me that.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know nurses
Minimum,
Yeah,
had
the
it's-
insurance.
minimum coverage is like 3 million.
And it's actually really cheap. I think the one that
Yeah,
it's
it's 20 bucks a month.
$140.
Yeah, it's well worth it to have it. I think I got to make sure I got mine re-upped because, again, I mean, I know you guys that are not in the nursing industry may not feel the gravity of this, but this to me, and I've used the reference before, and it's probably in the videos, but it's like they handed you a pile of dry laundry and tell you to walk into a hurricane and come out dry. You know, we walk into all this danger, death, disease, everything. We're going to where all the bad shit happens,
Right.
but we're not expected to keep, we're expected to keep that stink off of us. And it's just not going to happen.
How much leeway does this judge have? Does anyone know? Is there like mandatory sentencing? Is the judge have?
No,
is
well,
it- yeah.
Mike, I don't know for a fact, but given the charges that we discussed that she was convicted of, I can't imagine a mandatory minimum sentence. On
Yeah.
that.
Because to me, it just seems like, again, having a nurse be criminally responsible for stuff that happens in a hospital, again, outside of things that are purposeful, and no one's making, I mean, I didn't hear anyone make the case that she was doing this on purpose, or that there, this was first degree or something. So to me, I don't know how much leeway the judge has, but it would be nice to have a total rebuke of it, like, this can't stand, blah blah blah. Right. I mean, that would, but I don't know if the judge even has the ability to do that.
No, you can file for a judgment notwithstanding the verdict, which I'm sure her attorneys already did. But
The thing about her case, fortunately, they really did a good job of, in the eyes of the law, the prosecution made a great case and the defense did not make a good case. And legally, she's guilty as charged, like she is. And it's unfortunate that it wasn't technically a jury of her peers that could, help that situation, but I guess it is what it is. And so that's the unfortunate part. Unfortunately, they made a good case and the defense didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad.
So Desiree, when you were downtown today, were you like by yourself, with a group, or is it a big group?
No, so I
little
went with a group, like there was like a group of 8 of us that were there.
All from like your local area?
Yeah, so 7 out of the 8 of us all work in the same unit, and then another one of them, she does not work in our unit, but she used to. She works in PACU now.
So for you to get on a plane or train or automobile and come to DC, I mean, that's a pretty big deal. I mean, there's a lot of, and did you, I mean, obviously, I mean, I was down there with Zeus, and the people we met were from all over, but was that your experience as well? People were from all over?
Yeah, a lot of people from everywhere. There's people right in front of us that were from Joplin, Missouri, which isn't too far from where we live. So, I mean, all over the place.
Did you say Joplin?
Joplin, Missouri. Mm-hmm.
Isn't that the place that had the tornado a few years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, were people there in your experience? People that you talked to today, was it primarily for the RaDonda situation, or was it for these other issues that we were just discussing?
I mean, it was for mainly for safe staffing. It was a little bit about maybe like the violence, but the violence thing is it's kind of a weird issue as far as like you got that thin line between patient family members beating your ass and then like confused people getting mad and hitting you, you know, like kind of a touchy situation. It's like, what do you really say about it? That you could be chanted in a march, not really anything. So there was like a lot of safe staffing type stuff. And that's what most of the signs were. There's some funny ones. There was like, who's going to flip your grandma? There was a sign that was made on a pizza box that was like, pizza doesn't pay the bills. So.
Was how many?
This is basically what California did a few years ago. And now because of COVID and the staffing ratios, it's and administration being okay with it. That's why everyone's coming together and saying, this is not safe. This is not safe for nurses. This is not safe for patients.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what? We'll do a pause so we can get the video in, but I did talk to one girl today. And I'm sorry to take it off subject, but I found what she said very, very poignant. Real young girl, probably, 25, probably been a nurse a couple of years. And she said something that I've been thinking, and I think all of us nurses here at least been thinking is, a year and a half ago, we were heroes without capes. They were putting nurses pictures in with Spider-Man, Captain America, and Superman. We were the shit. And it feels like it's come around full circle. Not that we're abused, and most of us have been getting raises recently, but it's just weird how it went from that to, we've got this woman that did make a mistake. Again, we've covered that, but just how quickly the tables have turned. And now there's, as Mary was saying earlier, there's all these new cases with nurses being prosecuted. I don't like the twist.
And I almost immediately after RaDonda's case, it was like, boom, that one LTAC nurse, and then there was a that corrections nurse immediately afterwards. And
this bothers me. What really bothers me is this one doctor, this one doctor we were talking about earlier that it gave fentanyl for there were 19 deaths associated with it, and he walked scot-free.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not guilty.
Yeah, not guilty. And again, there is some precedent for that because in palliative care, it's something we talked about earlier. I think it was before the show started. But in palliative care, it's about pain management, and the side effect of that pain management is often. I'm sorry?
Quality of life over quantity.
Right, and the side effect of relieving these patients of their pain is a depressed respiratory system, and they're already weak.
Yeah.
So it gets to a point where their body, the actual weight of their body, is too much for their lungs. You know what I mean? And so they'll pass away, but they'll pass away without pain, and that is delivered to the families. So there is precedent for it, but this guy had 19. And from what I understand, a very short period of time. And it felt like it was more of an accelerate death and less of a
death with dignity.
Yeah, it was less of the dignified portion of it. It was more
I don't
just
want to do this with these people anymore. Let's get them out of here so I can get new in.
Yeah, right.
It's like they were gonna die. None of those patients, had they not got the 1,000 milligram dose of fentanyl or Mike's of fentanyl, they wouldn't have lived. What?
I was like, you said milligrams. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that's not what I meant. I meant Mike's. But even that 1,000 mics of fentanyl, that's so much fentanyl.
A lot.
A push, not just pushed. That's a lot. Can you
explain a push for the
an IV push is like
psych nurses?
So you take your syringe and you take your vial. Just kidding. So an IV push med is just something that you draw up. It can be anywhere from a half a mil to 10, whatever you have in there, and then you just push it over 2 minutes, depending on what the medicine is. And then you push through. Versus a drip would be hanging in a bag, and it runs at a certain rate, and you can turn the rate up and down depending on what's going on.
Yeah, so I find that bothersome for reasons I really don't want to get into, but I just feel like it could turn out that he's just going to look like another person that got away with stuff because of the social status he has. And I think it's a real shame because honestly, you would think that nurses probably don't like their doctors. I think the layman would, but actually, like, my doctors are just badass. They're like, I'm speaking for my situation. They're great. They care about patients. They do things to preserve life. There's some things that I'm not big on. Like, my favorite one is how if somebody's diabetic and they have like 181 blood sugar, which is really not that bad, they get they get 1 unit of insulin, which is ridiculous. And then it gets up to like, it doesn't even change until it's like 250.
Yeah, and then they get
300. Yeah, and then they get 2 units. And you guys may not know this, but that's really insignificant. And that's basically, they don't want the patient to bottom out. And I get that, but that's part of this litigious part of society where the doctors control what you can, you know what I mean? Sure. And as long as they keep it like below 180, they're probably going to be okay. Nobody's going to get hurt. The only time that ever comes a problem is when you're someone that is what's called a brittle diabetic, which I was starting to think I was one recently because I had that 591 scare. And then like 2 days later, I was at 45. So I was starting to worry about it, but then I drank a very, very heavy sugar, like sports drink, and bam, it was right back up to 180 real fast. But so, I mean, doctors are pretty cool. I think most of them, I mean, you do have those doctors that the ones that you call when you know you got to give the shot. You got those that are, you know, you go, okay, we know this patient needs this. We've seen it 1,000 times before.
You know who's going to give you what you want.
Yeah, and as nurses, we know the safe things because we've done it so many times. I mean, we give the shots, not the doctors. So they do rely on us. Often I think people think that, well, I mean, that's easy to say, but I think a lot of people look at doctoring and nursing as like this superior versus inferior, but it's more of like a lateral thing. It's more like
I think anybody who's ever had to stay in a hospital
can see that. Yeah,
has a good idea of how important nurses are. You see your doctor like once for 2 minutes and he leaves.
Yeah, but patients are still asking, when's the doctor going to come in? I don't know. I don't ever see that dude. Like,
yeah.
They want the authority. They want the authority.
Every time it's not even the doctor that because it's like someone who's covering a rounding or whatever. Like,
oh, they never like their doctor.
CT surgery anyway. Like, we'll have 4 surgeons, pretty much, and so like one will be on, and then the weekend will come in, and a whole nother one will be rounding, and they're like, "Wait, who are you? I don't understand." And like, "Oh, I'm just rounding. See ya."
Yeah,
and they just like.
In my situation in the ER, most of the doctors are amazing, and they rely on their nurses because their nurses are going to grab everything they need for line and labs after they've triaged the patient before they've even spoken to the doctor, because they know that's what he's going to order, and he relies on that. And most of my ER docs they're amazing doctors. Now we have some mid-levels that are, you know, they want to scan everybody before they even see them and let's make everyone glow in the dark. But
right.
For the most part, 99% of the ER docs I work with and have for 8 years are amazing people. I trust them, my family, myself with them. Like they're great doctors.
I would say that even
in an emergency situation, they're not trying to, you know, we're not playing house, you know, it's like, okay, either you're in a situation that's an emergency or you're not. Then they'll treat your symptoms, they'll figure out what's wrong with you, and then they'll refer you.
Yeah. I think the problem that comes down when doctors, I mean, like I said, we're with 4 CT surgeons. Like they're all great. I would trust anybody with them. We had a good working relationship, but when it comes into like hospitalists, they work with so many nurses, you know, and they don't really, they kind of have that, you know, attitude, and you're just like, I mean,
they're kind of out of touch.
Surgeons, they've been yelling at nurses since they've been created, so whatever. But I mean, it's a different type. It's not a you don't know what you're doing attitude. It's a holy shit, like let's get it fixed kind of. Oh my God, attitude.
Well, and that's why I think there's some really great things from nursing school. Overall, nursing school is like being tortured for 4 years because you want to do something good. But there are
not kill your patient. That's it. Doesn't teach you how to be a nurse.
I mean, the first day you're like, I don't know what to do. What did I learn in school? I don't remember.
And then if you got a good nurse precepting you, they'll be helpful. But there is still a very eat their young kind of vibe to it. But I've been lucky. I've had good nurses that were around me that allowed me to make mistakes that wouldn't kill anybody, or ask me the questions. What would you do in this situation? I'm like, you know. But so what I was getting at is one of the things they teach you in nursing school is advocacy. And I think it's really important because at the end of the day, we spend more time with the patients than anybody else. And when we go to the doctors with something, especially in what I do, Jack? What's my nursing?
You used to tell us all the time, but now I forget.
I can't remember.
So, and in my branch, they do rely on us a lot more because it is so behavioral and it can change like that. And they're really good about relying on our spending of time in the shitstorm. I don't know about I think in other branches of nursing, it becomes a little, not shadier. It's very much more about the numbers and all that.
Well, one thing, and I don't know if we should get Desiree's input on this, but just from the outside looking in, like what is all the people that came for this march, like what's the next step? Is there like legislation that's coming before Congress? Is there some sort of deadline for something coming up? Like what's the actionable takeaway from everything?
If I'm not mistaken, I think there are bills in place for staffing, which is just having enough nurses there. And then ratio caps, like depending on the different nursing. Like, I mean, certainly if you're in peds, you may be able to handle a few more, like, or not peds, but like infants, like mother and baby type stuff. Not the L&D nurses, but what do they call the ones after what's that?
Dana, your microphone is off, Dana.
Sorry, I did that because my dogs were crying. I was saying that if this goes through, I always said if they fix the ratio, I would totally go back to the pediatric, floor, the med surg floor for kids, and I would go back to med surg because that's every specialty. The ratio should be 1-4, and that like never happened ever, and it was not good. Like sometimes I walk in, they'll give me like 9, and I think that's okay. And some of them would have chemo being dripped, and it was just too much. And so that's where the burnout really would, set in, because now it's over the top for like 13 hours and it's on. But if it was 4, like it's supposed to be, it would be so much more manageable. You can do the advocacy, you could do the education, you could do the bonding, you could actually maybe not make a mistake and be excellent. And so, and maybe not be as abused. So I'm all for that. This is a long, long time coming. I hope it gets better.
But what it sounds like is though, there's not anything that's like an imminent piece of legislation or anything.
Yeah, no, there's 2.
Is this at the beginning? Are we at the beginning of this struggle?
Yeah,
okay.
It's starting. It's finally starting everywhere in California.
Okay.
And it leans very much into what Dana said on one of our past episodes is I think we're having the pain of labor and that something better is going to come out of it, but it's not going to happen right away. But
I think for not to jump in, but I think for, lay people like, myself, I think there's a lot of allies for nurses. I mean, again, as a layperson getting into a hospital, you sense it, you can see it, it's hospital time. You can tell that your nurses are doing 50 things at the same time. So to me, this needs an advocate, or to me, it should be an easy sell, I guess is what I'm saying, to get the majority of people who are like supporting it. But it's like the messaging and all that. I mean, to me, again, as a layperson, and as someone that is a veteran of going down to the mall to see all sorts of protests and marches and stuff like that, there was definitely a messaging issue. Like if it wasn't for being with Zeus or being on this podcast, I'd have no idea why they were down there. I mean, the signage, there was no one with, I mean, I didn't hear bullhorns. Like, someone needs to coalesce this message. It's a marketing issue. And I'm glad to hear it's at the beginning, because that explains it, right? So if it's at the beginning, then okay, that makes sense to me now.
It's 100% an administration issue. And the fact that administration is okay with it is disgusting.
Yeah, there's people that are not nurses that are making decisions.
I know of. There's brand new nurses that were cut off their orientation. It's a stroke center. So the minute you get a stroke, you're supposed to be a one-on-one. Well, now this brand new nurse has 2 strokes and 5 other patients. And then at the end of their shift, they're getting their ass ripped because their stroke paperwork wasn't properly filled out online as well as on paper. Like that's the last thing they're worried about.
It's always been abuse.
But what I'm saying is,
and the ratio totally screwed up.
this message needs to make it out to a wider audience. Is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Well, that's why Zeus started this podcast, man.
That's why Zeus started a podcast. I'm just saying, it is to me, it's an easy sell. You guys, you know, what the nurses are saying should ring true to people who aren't nurses, who have been in a hospital. I mean, it rings true to me from my own experience as a patient and as someone that visited other people in the hospital. I mean, it totally rings true.
Yeah, but it's not changing. I mean, this has been going on even before I was a nurse, over 20 years ago.
Wow.
This issue of like staffing ratio and, you know, the abuse that, you know, that it causes on nursing and the safety issues that it causes for everyone. It's just age old. And this is the first time it's actually at this point. You know, this is something that we all just kind of would be like, you can't make it up. You can't, how are they getting away with this? And like, I don't know how I did this. Like, and then they would say, well, you know, if you did 9 patients tomorrow, you're going to come in, they're going to have 11 for you.
Yeah, you figured it out before.
Yeah. You know, when I,
but that's just because, like, when I worked on the floor, the most patients I had was 9. I shouldn't know how to take care of that many people.
No, you actually you should know how to take care of them many people. You shouldn't have to.
I shouldn't be able to manage that. Like, that's the problem. And it's like, it's so normal now that it's like, oh, 7-8 patients just another day, but that's not, that should not be
it. You know, you've got your stroke center and you've got a brand new nurse with 1 stroke patient. They're supposed to be a one-on-one. Next thing you know, they've got 2 stroke patients and then 6 other patients that they're responsible for. How is that safe?
So are there not enough nurses in the profession, or is this strictly just not anymore?
There's a nursing shortage that's like,
okay.
When they cancel all their contracts, they're left with the Corps, and the Corps is leaving in droves because of the situation. So
I mean, what the hospital can do is simply not admit the patients, but
you can't do that.
They're not going to do that. Because number one, it's a business. I mean, that's when you get down to it, money.
It's all money. It's all about money.
They just care about how many empty beds you have.
And then, yeah, they're not going to have, if you have an ER full of 120 patients and 50 empty beds, how does that make sense? Because it's the public's perception of, we don't have, we can't get in. Those stupid ass HCAP surveys when it's like talks about your ER weight. It's so many factors that go into that are bullshit.
And we've talked about this before with COVID, and this is why I always, from my experience, question the numbers. I'm not invalidating the deaths, but when a person comes in with a cough and a wheeze and all those other things, Until it's COVID, it's just kind of chill. And I mean, during the heat of it, yes, they were much more vigilant. But at the end of the day, somebody comes in with a broken arm and they have COVID, COVID goes into the system. And the hospital gets just for that, like, you know, I'll just throw out, this is not a factual number, but one that I heard was like $13,000 just for them being suddenly having COVID. The hospital just gets that. And to me, that seems like it might skew the numbers immensely.
Yeah. I think we talked about that in the previous podcast.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to touch on it because it kind of applies to what we're talking about, that the hospitals are cash cows. They do good things. I'm not saying the people that work there aren't good. It's when you get into administration and when you're following all these rules to not offend people and get the
all
most
about metrics and the Hilton experience.
Yeah, bucket list comes to mind.
I mean, that's any business. I think the headline is that hospitals are a business, right? I mean, that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize.
In California, if your staff is capped, legally they cannot accept any other patients, or they have to figure out how to find some staff, like some state nurses. I don't know how they run it, but they find them somehow, and they cannot take the patients.
And to argue your statement, and I know you didn't mean it this way, but it's not any other business, because in our business, lives are at stake.
No, of course. I'm not saying it's like any other business. I'm saying it is a business, and that's unfortunate. People don't realize that. It is. It's like everything else in the world. I mean, when Mary was talking about the metrics and the numbers, that's any business, man. It's the bean counters. The bean counters and the lawyers took over everything, right? So that, I know that language. I understand all that stuff. My concern is like, I don't know if I like that being in the hospital room. You know what I mean? It's like hospital.
Yeah, just like your airplane pilot having going on 72 hours of no sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because then they end up
landing an airplane
or landing a jumbo
fucking jumbo jet at a little municipal airport.
She was telling me about this earlier. They had like a little tiny like airport that doesn't support a jumbo jet landing in it, and in Wichita, where she's from, this jumbo jet lands in it.
Boeing 737 lands in a municipal airport.
Aren't they the experts? It seemed
but isn't it, if we're talking about the bottom line though, isn't it also like, aren't hospitals or private hospitals in a situation in this country too, where they kind of take a bath on a lot of patients?
Absolutely.
Because nobody can be refused medical care.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you have EMTALA. Any hospital has EMTALA laws.
If I walk in there with a broken arm and no insurance and no job and no habla inglés, even for that matter, you can't send me packing. You got to treat my broken arm.
In the ER, we cannot refuse anyone for any reason. They can even be trespassed from the property. We cannot refuse them.
Right.
If you're a private hospital and you do not receive funding for EMTALA, you can in fact turn that patient away.
Yeah, if you do not receive funding from EMTALA.
Medically stable. You can be stable with a broken arm.
You can also be stable and be schizophrenic and thinking that demons are out to get you.
Yep.
So yeah.
But if you, as a person saying I'm unstable and I'm going to walk out into traffic, say that in front of any medical personnel, by law they're required to Baker Act you, at least in the state of Florida.
Right. Pull you right in. Yeah.
You're no longer medically stable because you're a harm to yourself.
Yeah.
But schizophrenic and catatonic in the middle of
isn't
that's fine.
So these are so we've talked very well about it. These are the issues that they were talking about today. And again, they were in my head kind of floating around, these thoughts, and I wasn't able to, they didn't get the resonance until I went out today. And it was really neat because I'm old, I'm 51, and all these young, just vibrant people, they were passionate, and it was really good to see, because I think young people today suck, but I think probably our parents, but they they lie and tell me the same thing. but it was kind of good to see. And one point that I made in the videos that you guys can watch later is that the nice thing about this whole nursing situation that's going on with the march and all is that it wasn't caught up in all these social issues. This is about something that has on it. It wasn't about opinion. It was about straight up facts.
The one political chant that they had at the march said, "Biden needs a nurse. Biden needs a nurse." But that was the only like political statement that was made.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
That was a good one.
I was. It's funny because I was joking through all the interviews because there's just this ongoing onslaught of police car sirens going on around me, and I kept. They were like, "What is that?" And I was like, "I think Biden got into his car and they can't find him now, so all the cops are out looking for him." And it was just like they kept coming around. One would have a Polish flag, one would have like a Chilean flag. It was very weird, but yeah. So there's that.
I think it's great you guys got out there today. Good for you.
It was really good.
Just saying.
Walking around. Oh, go ahead.
No. I mean, and then I've got to hop off here in a little bit, but also we do want to leave some time after we sign off. There will be all of these interviews that were done, as part of this.
Good job by you guys.
And please look at it because I think it was really pretty cool. Again, from us, we're all. Well, okay, I'll speak for myself since some people like to lie about their age. I'm 51, and it was nice to see these young people that actually had some spirit and some altruism, and it was about like their fellow nurse or fellow people in general. I mean, and I think this kind of, falls in with nursing. Most people that become nurses are doing because they want to help people. It just happens to pay well. You don't want the one that wants it for the money because, well, first of all, they're dumb.
Make America pays kind of the same as.
But point being is it was nice to see some young people with like real values and like they were inspired, man. I mean, I talked to people from California. I know this one weird chick from Wichita that came all the way out here. It was just. It gave me a little hope, that there's
like 3 different groups that people just walking around after the march came up to us, and there was one group that two old elderly ladies, and they were very thankful for us coming out, and they're like, we're here, but we can't march. We're not able to, and so they were really thankful that we were all out there and supporting the profession and. It was nice to hear.
It was pretty inspiring. There is the one part where people kept riding their bikes and their scooters in front of us. There's probably some cuss words that we're gonna have to edit out because it's just like it was great though, because one time it was just like these 2 old people, and I happened to be mentioned geriatric nursing, and I was like, and geriatrics, and I'm just like, you don't see me, but you see the reaction of the nurses in front of me because I'm hamming it up for them, and they were digging it, but it was really good. I know this is a little out of the blue episode. I was hoping this was supposed to be an event and there was supposed to be like a ton of nurses, but the most important ones came.
So
it was really good.
Look at it this way. This is your first episode of the NURSES R.N. podcast, episode 1, man.
It's the Friends of Zeus / NURSES R.N. hybrid episode. It's a crossover episode.
Well, I will say too, just in case it doesn't get mentioned, because I think Zeus had stopped recording, but there was a lady when Zeus said, "Oh, I'm with Friends of Zeus podcast," she totally was like, "Oh, I know, I saw your video and all that stuff."
Really?
Yeah.
She had seen the RaDonda. She was like,
it's cool when everything comes full circle.
She's like, really? I can't fucking that show.
Yeah, but she was like, yeah, it was on the website, whatever organization, because she came from Texas, and she's like, oh no, I totally,
And that was the neat part about it too.
Totally recognized you guys.
She was like halfway across the world.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was pretty hilarious. I just thought that was awesome.
And that's her right there, actually, right behind Mike.
Oh yeah, no, that's Holly from Texas, I think.
Holly, yes.
Yeah.
It was very sweet.
Shout out to Holly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really neat. I think that we're running out of steam. I think we've been on just long enough, and I'm a crotchety old man, and I'd like to end it so I can go to bed at an early time.
All right, guys. Hey, good luck.
Isn't that how we say it?
Says the night shift nurse.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
And again, watch the videos at the end, because these people took their time to sit with me and talk to me with.
I'm sure. Zeus, if anybody's still watching this now, they're gonna watch what comes out.
All right, we'll put it at the beginning of the episode as well in the things. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Take care. See you guys.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Well, thank you for letting me interview for the Friends of Zeus podcast. I'm Zeus, and everybody else that you'll see are my friends. Your name?
Kimberly,
And you're a nurse from, where are you from?
South Carolina.
What kind of nursing do you do?
I'm an ICU, trauma neuro.
Damn, good on you. So you know a lot about the RaDonda Vaught case, because
Been keeping up with it.
yeah. But we'll get to that. But I wanted to ask, what inspired you to come out here today? Because there's a lot of nurses out here today. I'm pretty impressed with it. It's not a million, but it's more than 6 or 7. So
I feel like that nurses were called heroes in 2020, and now in 2022, less than 2 years later, we're being thrown under the bus for hospitals that are making millions, and
insurance companies, pharmaceuticals, all that. Yeah.
It's not okay. Treat us as if we are a resource that you need instead of a resource that's expendable. That's how I feel.
Yeah, and it's been, especially with this case, it's been feeling like, we lost our capes. Now we just get to wear the masks. And they're not even useful. But are there any particular situations that you personally have had to deal with that you feel comfortable talking about?
Sure. In the area that I came from, I didn't always work ICU, and I came from a med-surg floor where ratios are known to be quite terrible. I had some pretty unsafe scenarios where patients were either not taken care of as well as they should be, because I was one person for 5 to 6 patients on a tele floor, or patients would either attack me. I have been attacked by patients, or some of my
Usually
coworkers.
my patients, right?
Yeah.
I'm in psych, so.
Patients that maybe should have been on a psych floor, not a tele floor. But yeah, it's unsafe, both staffing wise and just they don't protect us with patients that might be a little bit more dangerous.
Mm-hmm. I hear you.
I'm a smaller female, and a person such as your size or bigger.
Yeah,
like
I'm of great proportions. Yeah, I know. No, and for you, I mean, one of the biggest things why I'm out here is, first of all, for me, it's the RaDonda Vaught thing. I want to talk about this because it's so massive with the whole aesthetic of nursing. I think it's either going to cause more people to be nurses or there to be a glut like we've never seen in nursing. And I'm afraid it's going to go
people
south.
are dropping out of school. I know people that have dropped out of school. I know people that are fleeing the bedside. I myself, if it doesn't change, I'm not going to work bedside. I will go and work in another
advice nurse on a phone or something.
Something else to do. Go become a bartender.
Do you know how many people...
They protect me.
I got to go on a tangent here. Do you know how many nurses I know that say that they'll go back to bartending? I didn't know that it was like interested in dolls and then dresses and then bartending to nurse. Like, how did it? I don't know how I got there, but anyway, I know so many nurses that will go bartending. I guess it's that spinning plates, juggling act thing that we do. But so yeah, to at least for me, the point that I'm really most concerned with is safety for me, because I walk into fist swinging all the time.
Yeah.
But on the safety side of meds, I think that this is really big. That she was basically expected to walk into a hurricane, and come out dry. You know what I mean? That's what you do as a nurse. You walk towards death and sickness and all these other things.
She should have never been able to pull the med that she did in the location that she was at.
Right, exactly. They, from my understanding, at least some places usually had 2 people that had to sign off on it because it's so dangerous. But I also heard that the dose that she gave was like a pediatric dose or something. So who knows? It's all hearsay. Anyway, how do you feel about it? Do you feel like she should go to jail?
No.
Okay.
She was already gone through the systems that nurses have in place. She had already been to the board of nursing. She had already gone through the steps that we have set in place for nurses.
That make mistakes.
Right.
Right.
And she complied completely. She didn't keep anything secret. And she went through everything. And 2 years later, she's brought back by, to my understanding, it was the insurance that found out things that were going on with that particular hospital.
Yeah.
And the hospital then went back and blamed her and paid off their part.
They paid off, from my understanding, relatively quickly, within like a month. I think, we both could be wrong, and we'll edit that out. I think though what happened was it was more like a state level, not like a JCO, but something along those lines that was going to have effects on their licensing and all that. They came in and said, well, hey, what happened here? Why'd you pay out this money? So I don't know if it was...
they weren't completely truthful in what they...
and then they threw her under the bus.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like they kept all the documentation in case they could use it against her later. So, there's that.
And she complied. She completely followed through with everything.
And she went and got a job
honest.
afterwards.
Yeah. And then I have a problem with the fact that the same state, the same nursing board in that state, they have a similar case going on, or it just finished, where another nurse did a medication error, used the medication through the wrong route, killed the patient, and they're still working in Tennessee.
Yeah, it's heinous. Here's my question: do you think she should get her license back? That's a tough one.
That's the tough one.
I kind of feel like
I'm not on the board. I'm not working that state legislation, so I can't say that. But should she go to jail? Absolutely.
No jail. No jail time at all. But absolutely, it becomes more questionable whether she should get her license back or not. And if she should, there's going to have to be some trials. Yeah. My last question is, what do you think the outcome's going to be?
I don't know. I truly don't know.
I'm a little skeptical myself. I feel like they're gonna try and turn this into something that can make it harder for us to ask for more pay and more safety. And
I know that whatever the outcome is, people that I work with, people that I went to school with, and we're talking about this throughout different hospital systems, the whole
environment.
The environment that they try to keep safety for their nurses, like a safety net to just come up and say what happened, to just say that you made a mistake and be able to work through it.
It's going to promote dishonesty.
It is.
Yeah, that's
People are not going to come forward.
Yeah, or
we're not going to be able to learn from our mistakes anymore.
Nope.
It's going to be scary.
Yep. Again, you're going to have to walk into the hurricane and come out dry, or else you're screwed. That's where I'm worried about. I think they're probably going to give her some time, and then it's going to get appealed, and then it'll straighten itself out. But we shall see.
Also, I don't think nurses get paid enough to be taken to federal prison.
Exactly.
I'm an hourly.
How can you afford a lawyer on this pay? Well, thank you again. I'm sorry, did I get your name?
Yeah, Kimberly.
Kimberly. Zeus.
Thank you, Zeus.
So, hi ladies, as I said, my name is Zeus. I'm from the Friends of Zeus podcast. We're also going to be starting another podcast soon called the NURSES R.N, like R.N, with a few nurses that I know. I think that's going to be good. So I'll give you my deets later, or just tell you about it, and you guys can check it out. We want to make that kind of a soapbox for nurses. So like any nurse wants to come on, just let us know and tell us what's going on. I don't think there's anything doing that right now, so we'll see. Anyway, again, welcome to the Friends of Zeus podcast. I just wanted, we're here on the day of the Nurses March is the biggest thing today, but I wanted to ask some questions. First one being your names.
I'm Dani.
I'm Charlotte. I'm Venus.
Okay. Oh, Venus. Zeus and Venus.
Yeah.
I like that. Cool. And where are you from?
Originally California.
Okay.
Texas. Florida.
Oh, what part of Florida?
Panama City Beach.
All right. I was Tampa and Sarasota. That's where I live. So what inspired you ladies to come out here today? What was it, the driving force for traveling from all these various places?
Well, we're actually travel nursing here.
Oh, okay.
In the area of DC. So I think it was kind of, one, it was convenient because it was right here.
Yeah.
Right after work, we just came right on by. And we figured it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to kind of fight for something that we believe in. That
Good.
is also happens to be where we're currently living. It would be a shame to kind of let that opportunity go away.
Yeah. So I didn't plan this question, but so that's the inspiration for coming out of here. But what got you to the point where you felt like there was something to fight for? What is it that you're what's bunching your britches per se?
I guess everything that's bunching our britches right now. Unsafe staffing, they're trying to cap nurses' pay, everything that's going on. We don't have enough resources in the hospital. We don't have support from administration. Everywhere we even have to travel to even get adequate pay. Right now, we have to leave the comfort of our homes, so,
I'm a father of 2, so I could do 13 weeks pretty easy. I love them, but I can talk to them on Skype. But no, I do appreciate that. As I said, I'm in the psych arena, so staffing there is real important. The danger that you're under is real. Did I ask, I'm sorry, what types of nursing?
We're all in the ICU.
Oof.
We're right now in the surgical ICU. And
Yeah.
I will say that we do get a mix of a little bit of psych in the ICU.
And that's more dangerous for you, because at least when I walk in, and when I walk onto my unit, if poop were to fly right by my head and hit a wall,
Another Tuesday.
I'd be like, go get the OxyClean things and let's get this knocked out. It wouldn't surprise me. The things I've seen, and I've also been attacked. I got injured, did the workman's comp thing. Me, I'm lucky. I'm 6'2", 240, and I beat them up with a pillow. I'm very cool and kind with my patients. I go from the aspect of nobody woke up and wanted to be how they are. So I reserve the right to not like them right now, but along with that, I reserve the right to forgive them for their mistakes, because they're not driving this car all the time.
That's a good way of
But well, you got to. But I envy the hell out of you guys, because I know pre-hypertensive is like 130 over something. I'm not like BP and all the vital stuff. You guys do that. If you want to get in the old noggin, that's where I come into play. And that's another thing. I think that there should be like psych nurses that travel, so that they can help keep you all safe, and other nurses that should travel and come over to our end to do certain tasks, so we could maybe have a larger variety on our units and a less variety on yours.
I mean, you'd be surprised how many people can't use twice tough cuffs. Yeah, those, the twice tough cuffs? They're less restricted than leather.
Oh yeah, they are the ones that go around the elbows?
No, they go around the wrists and the ankles, but they're they're not leathers. They're made of this really thick,
like an
plastic
inflatable
Velcro,
thing. Yeah.
And then you go 4 times over it.
Yeah, we do those.
But yeah. So
The 4-point restraints is what they do them with.
You'd be surprised in the ICU, because we get a lot of people in the DC area that are withdrawing from PCP. Is a big one here. A lot of people withdraw from PCP here.
Yeah, I'm seeing is it called Delta 8 is the one that's really scaring me. I'm like I'll probably edit what I'm saying here. I'm a big proponent for legalizing marijuana because of all this. First of all, the marijuana that's coming out now is like 40% THC, no CBD. CBD knocks out the psychotic part of what marijuana will do. Like it used to be like natural with no hybrids, none of that stuff. It was like 6%.
Yeah.
And now we've got an amount that's going in our brains that we weren't evolved into taking. So, and then you throw in all the what do you call them? These. I'm trying to think of the term. Cosmetic ones like Special K and
the hybrids.
Yeah, that are like 400 times. So it scares me. Anyway, I digress a little, and that's if you watch our podcast, we do a tangent alert. So we'll be getting one of those, right? But so that's cool. Again, envy what you guys do. I'm sure you guys think I'm crazy for doing what I do.
Yeah,
it tends to go that way.
There's mutual respect for all.
There is.
Nurses are nurses. It doesn't matter what field you come from, what background. I mean, everyone supports each other, and every job is hard in its own way. There's no ICU is harder than med surg. They're harder in different ways.
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah, it's just
Everyone multitasks.
You couldn't do it all. That's what
Yeah.
ADs do.
It is. It takes a village.
Yeah, exactly. So, one of the topics that's big right now, and I found the sentencing date very convenient, being one day after today. But I wanted to ask you your feelings on the whole RaDonda Vaught thing. I've mentioned with other interviews they do, I believe that she should not go to prison. To ask a nurse not to expect a nurse not to make a mistake would be like handing somebody a pile of towels and asking them to walk into a hurricane and not get anything wet.
100%.
We walk into danger and death all the time. It's going to happen. That's where people die, and that's where people are sick. That's why we try and get people out as quickly as possible, because you want to get them away from the sick people. But I do also feel like, at bare minimum, she's going to have to work really hard to get her license back I wouldn't hate the justice system or the nursing system if they said that she can't, because it's a tough one. It's complex for me. I'm not unsympathetic to her. I don't want her to lose her career, but there's got to be some kind of repercussion. Put her, or at least floor nursing, something where she could be in administration or something like that. Just would you have your child go to the nurse that for sure one time made that mistake? That's where I get a little squirrely on it. I do support her though.
We've talked about it actually on our floor multiple times, because I will say that almost the exact same thing that happened to RaDonda, we've done a million times over. Not given the wrong medication, but I'm saying we've had to override a medication to give it.
Alert, the way they call it, alert fatigue.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
But so for her to be criminally charged, to me was, I think,
obscure.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's bizarro world stuff.
Crazy.
I completely
if that
agree.
sets the precedent for what's going to come in the future, then I don't know if I want to be a nurse anymore.
Yeah.
And
this is going to scare everybody, especially into even telling the truth.
Yeah, it's going to break down our judge culture.
Listen, in my opinion, that culture of CYA, covering your ass, was already there. This is going to make it nuclear.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about doing insurance now.
Yeah. I got mine.
Malpractice insurance, because now being a traveler, nobody's going to cover you.
Nope.
You don't have a home base. You don't have people and doctors and nurses that know you. You don't have charge nurses that are advocating for you. You're kind of on your own.
And see, this is kind of the nursing problem too. Travel nurse. Why should a travel nurse be any less important in those aspects than any other nurse? What's the difference between you and a floor nurse, except that when you go to a place, they tend to dump the bad patients, the harder, they boom, you're getting a tough ride from go. You deserve the pay. I wish I could do some travel, like I said, for many reasons, but the pay is really nice, and I can live like a Spartan.
It comes with its cons.
It does.
There's a lot of pros, but there's a lot of cons. But it is definitely scary for her to travel.
So do you think she should get her license back?
My personal opinion, I would say no, because if it was in any other kind of thing, I would think that she would get her license taken away and it would just be over with.
Yeah.
To be charged was like one thing, but to get your license taken away, I think that would be more expected.
Yeah.
And so what do you predict? What do you think is going to happen tomorrow? Do you think that she's going to get sentenced, or do you think they're going to
Whatever
time
it is,
served?
it's going to be unfair to her because, I mean,
to be in such a public eye and so to be so not only criminalized against like one person and have the entire country following you as one person when people make mistakes every day, I think and they're making an example of her.
They are.
Which in one way I get that people want to make nursing safer. They want to make sure that they're making sure that medications are given properly, but then you have to give people the resources to do that. And, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know too much on the case, but their system was down, right? They were trying to re-sync up their Omnicell or Pyxis to their charting system.
So my understanding is she went in, it wouldn't let her pull out the Versat, so she types in VE. We all know Pyxis. You guys might not. But she typed in VE, and I can never say the name of it. Yeah, what you said. So VE starts them both. She hit the wrong one. It gets a little squirrely after that because apparently, Versat, I'm thinking almost always comes in a pill form. Or maybe an oral solution, which is prepared.
Versat?
No,
it's IV.
Oh, it's IV. Okay,
IV.
See, this is
So is Vex.
psych nurse. Know nothing about that stuff, but apparently one is a constituted thing and one is just boom, shoot it in. So there were steps, and that's where I get a little questionable about her level of mistake too. But yes, there was, from my understanding, she was floating. She was on a unit she wasn't used to. Then she was precepting. And then she went down to another unit that she's not used to. Scanner didn't work, so it didn't give up that warning that says, hey, are you sure you want to give the paralytic to this patient?
That's what I have a problem with is she made mistakes, but there's also supposed to be things in the hospital
I agree.
to help her kind of not make those mistakes.
See, for me, that's the given. The hospital...
So why weren't they in trouble?
Well, because they got good lawyers and they covered it up well.
Right.
She went nurse for another year after this. They brushed it under the rug. So,
but she was the one that reported it. She's the one that turned herself in. So the fact that the hospital was the ones that brushed it under the rug, they paid off the family, they did all this.
Yeah, within a week, I think.
They're the ones that did all of this, and yet they're not being charged. And I'm not saying that she should or shouldn't be charged, but it's not fair to only charge one party.
Where's the integrity?
Of
the hospital.
For me, she's showing all the integrity in the world.
Yeah, you should
and
all
fessing up,
all parties involved should be equally charged for it.
Yeah.
And it's sad because it's one person against this entire system.
But no prison. And that was my thing. Do you think they're going to let her slide on this from a criminal aspect?
Do you think they will, or do we think she should?
No, I don't think she should go to. No, I don't think there's a nurse out there that would say that she should go to jail. Maybe there is some prudish, angry person, but no, I don't think most nurses want her to go to jail. But
do we think that's what's going to happen?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Do you think?
Unfortunately,
unfortunately, they're going to make it.
I'm not having a lot of faith either.
Yeah, I unfortunately think they will. I mean, I think they'll try to overturn it and try to. Fight it.
Oh, okay.
So
I think
appeal.
Yeah, and that's a very good possibility. But I think they're going to try and to get I'm the great and powerful Oz. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. I feel like this is a really good. If they send her to jail, even if she appeals and she goes back, suddenly there's that onus of this, which makes people less likely to ask for those raises because they don't want that attention, and it could go one of several ways. I'm worried she's going to jail. And if she does, I'll be doing shows about her for the next year because it's infuriating to me.
Oh,
because
it's
it could have happened.
my blood is boiling just like
It's just
thinking
sad
about it.
because you think of, a wrongful death is never good. It's never acceptable. But you think of these, she's not the only one in the entire country, in the entire world that's done something like this. So it's sad that she was the one that's getting made an example of instead of, all these other CEOs.
And I don't get a nasty vibe off of her. She looks and seems to be very sincere. I've seen a few little interviews. It looks like she's holding up a tough front. She
reported it.
Yeah, she did. She came.
Yeah.
That should be something that's like at least,
Yeah, and again, I'm with you guys. License back, man. You'd have to volunteer to go to prison for a year to get your license. Like then, if they said, okay, you go to prison for a year, but you come back out, and you get to be a nurse, she'd probably get a job like that. Somebody would hire her just because of
based
her.
on this principle right now,
Right.
everything she's going
Yeah.
through and representing
So-
right now for the nurses.
So if they said something like that, yeah, give her her license back. She took the hit.
She's kind of a martyr right now.
Oh, she's absolutely a martyr. She's absolutely a martyr.
It's crazy. In my experience at the hospital we're at right now, I don't feel like a lot of the doctors know about the case,
Yeah.
which surprises me because we've been giving them a lot of pushback about, giving us orders without it actually being in the computer or having to override. So I'm like trying to explain to them why they're getting a lot of pushback from the nurses. And they're like, oh, that happened. And it's just like, you need to be updated on what is happening in the medical field. And I think this is a big case. So.
Well, ladies, I thank you so much for stopping for me. I'm not cutting us off. My buddy who's on the show with me is hobbling around somewhere, and I gotta find him. So, now I was recording all that. So hi, my name is Zeus. I'm with the Friends of Zeus podcast. I came out here today because I myself am a nurse, and a lot of these issues affect me as well. I know. I'm a guy nurse, you're all girl nurses, but we matter too. So again, Friends of Zeus podcast, I wanted to talk to you guys about, well, first of all, I guess let's name and what kind of nursing you do.
Lindsey, I do geriatrics.
Okay.
Angelica, labor and delivery.
Nice.
I'm Syndey. I've done med surg and now labor and delivery.
Lincoln, labor and delivery.
Yeah, I do med surg and PCU.
Oh, PCU. Okay.
Emily, I'm in the emergency room.
I envy none of you. I envy none of you. All badass. It's an impressive group. Like I said, I'm in psych, so I don't really do medicine. I just do this. But so first question I want to ask is, well, just to get warm up to it. Where are you guys from?
Pennsylvania.
West Virginia.
West Virginia. Connecticut. All right. And so what inspired you to come out here? Because I mean, some of you have traveled a good distance for. Maybe we'll wait. Oh, so they have to come this way as well. I think Biden's lost in his car or something. They're trying to find him. Come on. Oh my God, they'd never stop ending. Look. Well, I know it has something to do with Poland. This will be getting edited out. Do all of them have to have their sirens on?
All of DC just
Exactly. So what was I asking? I was asking what inspired you ladies to come out here? You're all coming from all over the place, so it has to be something pretty, you have to have some, main thing that got you into a car to travel to DC of all places for this.
When I when I started nursing, I kind of thought that like our hospital system, you know, like we had these problems, but we live in a small town area, and like this is just how it was going to be at our hospital. And if I, wasn't willing to travel, then I was going to have to get used to that. But then through social media and stuff, I found that it's more like a nationwide issue. More than I had ever thought, that every nurse is complaining about the same things as we were.
Yeah, it's generally pay, safety, staffing,
Right.
ratios.
When I heard that we could all come together, like I just felt like I had to be a part of that change. Like I couldn't miss this opportunity. If this was going to do something, then I had to be able to say in the future that I was here and I was a part of it.
And I mean, for me, also, it just not having to do with anything that has to do with like people's feelings about whatever. Thank you. All these sensitive subjects. This is about something that's real. Like there's meat on this bone. You can really get into it. For me, that's why I'm here. I only live like 7 miles away, so it was really easy.
And I feel like we're not like just fighting for ourselves, which obviously we are, but also if we don't have better patient nurse ratio, then that's affecting our patient care as well. And maybe not so much in labor and delivery as much as the rest of the hospital, but
yeah, but you guys
we're
have
not
double
here just
the.
for ourselves. We're also here for the rest of.
You guys have double. You have double the patients. Every time you have a patient, there's a little patient inside of.
And we can't see the second one.
Yeah, yeah.
Future nurses though, because they're seeing nurses now leave the bedside in droves, and they're not wanting to start nursing careers because they're watching everybody else leave because it's unsafe.
And I'll say, speaking for myself, I went to a community college. Then I did it the smart way. I got my ADN, got the job, had them pay for the bachelor's. But it was really tough. And I'm a big burly guy, I know that. But I mean, I was crying my eyes out at times through nursing school. I can only imagine, and I had no clue what it was going to be like. It really is nurses eat their young, sink or swim, big fish, all that stuff. But I can only imagine what this new group of people coming in is going to feel like, because I don't think they have any idea what they're coming into.
Right. There's not even any experience left. Really, like all the experience has left. So like they're coming in like yourself.
I'm seasoned. I've only been doing it like 5 years.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, but I also started. I mean, I'm lucky because I started later, so I didn't just come in like, oh, that'll make me money. I was like, I think this is what I really want to do. I mean, let's be honest. Yes, do we need more money? Yes, but I also don't know too many nurses that don't own their own homes. We just need more because we need appropriate pay.
I think the amount of pay versus responsibility we have is not. It doesn't add up.
Yeah, they're not. Jesus, it's not equitable with what we do. With the danger, speaking for myself, with the danger I put myself in, all the time. I walk into a hurricane. I think they did that on purpose. I walk into danger all the time. You guys, it's even worse. Well, maybe not so much L&D. You probably, every once in a while, you might have a psych patient come in there, postpartum depression or psychosis. I could see that. Or antepartum? No, antepartum would be right there in the middle of it, right? Okay, before. So I was right, antepartum. So, there's reasons, but I doubt you see very many psych on your in the med surg end.
Substance abuse.
Yeah.
And we have no psych in our crew.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you get everybody.
So we already had a problem. It became a bigger problem, right?
Yeah, see, I walk in expecting poop to fly by my face. You guys, it's random.
Yeah.
But,
In geriatrics, I feel like a lot of times they don't have anywhere to place the psych patients, and they end up with
it's
me.
really a
and I have like 25 patients, and it's a lot.
I will tell you, there is kind of a crossover.
Yeah. I've had 34 patients before.
There is kind of a crossover because you will get geriatric in psych and psych in geriatric. You'll get psych in there, and they kind of mix depending on the ages and all. But anyway, so it sounds like safety is your biggest. Yeah, for me too. Especially again, L&D. You got twice the problems. I just can't get over that. That's what kept me from doing it. Was I love babies. I don't want to be around when they die though, and that scares me. I'm sure you see it every once in a while. It's got to be awful. But and ratios, So it's all the same. That again, it just adds to the point that there's a lot of meat on this, and it doesn't have to do with people's sensibilities, which is really good for me. I'm tired of like, how do you say something? When do you say it? What do you say? Who do you say it to? Nursing.
That's where the abuse comes from. If
What's
you have somebody running around your neighborhood with a gun, you're going to call the police. The
Right.
police are going to handle it.
Yeah.
If you have something unsafe happen at the hospital and you go
Yeah.
through administration,
Right.
you get yelled at. Keep it hush.
Well, and that brings us to the next thing that I want to talk to you about. I have complex feelings about it. Don't lynch me if I say something that is not what you think, because I'm going to start off with, I support RaDonda Vaught completely. I do not think she should go to jail. I think if she does go to jail, it's going to be bad for nursing. We're going to have to get malpractice insurance. We're going to have to do all these things, and it shouldn't be. We have lives at stake. We shouldn't be having to worry about that on top of everything else. We should be backed and covered and feel like we can go to mother's bosom at any time and she'll make us feel safe. And it doesn't feel like that right now. Not everywhere. I feel pretty good where I am, but I know it's not everywhere. And I've been places where I didn't feel that way. Anyway, how do you feel? Okay, this is a two-parter because this is where it gets complex. Do you think that she should go to jail? Does anybody think she should go to jail? No. Okay. You do? That's okay. Why? I'd love to hear the alternative.
I don't know. I was not there, but we have. I mean, if I opened up a bag of Pitocin and made a mom abrupt and killed her and her newborn, I kind of feel like that's on me.
Yeah, but prison? How many lives have you saved? And I'm not arguing with you. I'm just, how many lives have you saved versus one? And I'll give you my perspective. She should not go to jail, plain and simple. That's because it was unintentional. She wasn't drunk. She was only doing what was asked of her, and we do it all the time. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. I haven't killed anybody. I have had to give CPR to somebody, you know what I mean? You know, I've had ribs crunching under my hands. We do so much, and we get little things. So I think the thanks might be in that if you did give too much Pitocin and all that happened, because I'm not LD, I just heard Pitocin. I remember that from school.
But no, we also have 20 years. So even though our incident doesn't happen right away, in 20 years we can be the ones sitting in court where they're going to go through everything.
But that 20 years that you delivered babies and did all the good things, I feel like that earns. I'm not saying that a life should come to an end and that's what your payback is, but I'm saying that
Intentionally do. It's not like
Right.
she said, "Oh, I save all these lives. I can murder this."
right. If she did that, then no, you're an asshole.
I also feel like we've all had to override medications in an emergent situation, and it could have been a
Yeah.
mistake easily made by anyone.
They call it alert fatigue. When you click through.
But let's also remember that RaDonda owned up to her mistake.
Yes. Due diligence is huge. That's another reason why not. I mean, that's not to say go shoot somebody and say, hey, totally shot them, but you know.
Up to it even, but
Yeah.
shooting somebody isn't a mistake either.
What's that?
Shooting somebody isn't a mistake.
No, that's true. That's true. And yeah, she didn't shoot the lady. That's. I think I saw that in the news. So.
It really did her a disservice.
Yeah.
So-
My feeling is this. Okay, she made a mistake.
Speak up a little. I'm sorry.
I'm Lisa. She made an honest mistake.
Yeah.
Under pressure, which happens a lot. Things happen in the operating room, happen all the time. You don't see surgeons going to prison.
In fact.
You don't see anesthesia going to prison. Just had a doctor. I have had dogs and anesthesia sick my patient in front of me, and they're back at work.
I've seen nurses that I think are far brighter than the doctors, and that's not let's beat on doctors. I like doctors, but I hate police cars. But that's my point. That was going to be my next question. Now, we all agree she shouldn't go to jail, and this is where we might part ways. I don't think she should get her license back unless they put her to jail for a year and make her work it off and learn. You know, I mean, there's kind of a weird way where like she's got to have some kind of repercussions.
I feel like
like she could have like they do like restricted licenses. You know what I mean? Like she could work like a non-clinical.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to somebody else about that perhaps she could be an advice nurse where it's a controlled group of people that are calling in. You already know that this is most likely not going to end in death, so it's like
to prevent these things from happening again. Like,
and honestly, I don't think we really have to. Yes, we can feel bad for her now. I hate to say it, I think she's probably going to get some jail time, but I think it's going to get appealed, and then that'll come back around. Personally, I think 10 years from now, we're going to wish we were her and went through what she did, because I guarantee you she's going to have book deals. There's going to be the RaDonda movie starring Julia Roberts. She's going to do okay.
I mean, I don't want to be here.
But I think it's also I think it's going to be a big teaching experience. She probably sees her face every day when she wakes up and knows that she.
Yeah, but you know what? That's like that movie Django, when they use a certain word in that movie so many times that you forget that you're hearing the word. I'm not going to say what the word is, but we all know what it is. And with this, I think when you see your face on TV after a while, you just go numb.
Know her patient's face.
Have they been showing the patient's face though? Have you seen?
But I'm sure she has like PTSD.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The problem is we're not saying what can we do right now to fix this. None of us went into work the next day and said, I'm not overriding. It might have lasted for 5 minutes. All we're torn on is, should she go to jail, should she not go to jail, instead of at the CEO's door saying, I'm not overriding it. You fix the policy, you fix the break in the thing, until I'm doing another medication. We didn't do that. It's just the entire country divides instead of fixing the problem.
And that is.
I did go and say, I won't override a med. I mean, I'm not putting my license on the line. If it's an override of a bag of fluid, a fluid bolus, something like that, I said I would override. But I told my manager the next day, I will not override the medication for a doctor until it's verified. So orders put in.
I think they're racing. I think they're just going in a circle and racing.
There's all new, they're all from different countries.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, they're different flags every time.
So I mean, this is another cool thing when you get into some of these more touchy subjects that are going on right now in the zeitgeist per se. You know, with like non-binary or BLM or any of these other things. There's always these harsh, angry feelings, and people disagree very, very violently. And this isn't like that. This is more like, there's a lot more like solidarity with this. Like what you really picture when you picture solidarity, of like people really sticking together. And even if you don't agree, there's like this civil discourse that we manage to maintain. Like I'm not seeing fists raised. I'm not seeing Molotovs being thrown, anything like that. So it's refreshing for me. This is like, I can't wait to delve into this for the show. But it's good to see that like we're all from different places in this, but pretty much except for you. But no, it's nice to see. But even so, like I kind of called you out and asked you a question about it, and no harshness. Like I get it. If it was my kid and this happened and it was RaDonda Vaught, I'd be like.
But her parents aren't that way.
What's that?
Her family,
No, the family is. I heard the family was like, but they also got paid off like a month afterwards, and I'm sure.
Never talked to the family. We're hearing everything through the news.
Yeah, and I'm sure they got paid well, because that's a pretty, at the end of the day, hospital's fault. It's a case closed. So I can see why they would have paid. I'm sure they paid a lot, but So what do you guys think is going to happen? It's my last question, and then I'll.
Jail time we made an example of. Yeah, I agree.
See, I mean, I think so too. I think it's going to come back in an appeal, though. That's just my feeling. And then stuff will hit the fan. That's when Vanderbilt will start being held accountable and all that. But it's got to. I think the bad things kind of got to happen before the good thing does. Kind of like labor and delivery, it's just all this pain and all this, just chaos. They just don't care. Good. She did ring the bell before she flew through the filming.
Heads up.